create a new virtual machine first. So let's use typical installation, and right here we have to choose the ISO image. So let's go to search for it. I've already downloaded the ISO image. Okay, so that's the one. I don't have a Windows Server product key, so we can pass this. Okay, let's go back here and choose I will install the operating system later. And right here we can choose Windows Server version. Well, there is no Windows Server 2019, so let's select Windows Server 2016 on my version. And let's give it a name. Mm, let's call it Lab DC. No, let's call it lab DC, it's okay. Let's call it lab DC. Let's store the virtual machine as a single file. Maximum disk size, well, recommended one is 60. We can keep it at 60. But I would give it only 40 to start with. That's only a domain controller server, so it doesn't need to have much hard disk space. It doesn't need to have a lot of hard disk space. Memory 2 gigabyte should be enough. Processor even 1 should be enough, but let's start with 2. So the installation will be faster. And network adapter, I'll use the bridge one, so I will be on the same network as my home network. Okay. Okay, let's click on finish. Okay, the VM is created, so now we can select CD DVD and then go to look for the ISO image and select the Windows Server ISO image. Okay, let's power on the virtual machine. Okay, so now it's powering on and it's going to boot into that ISO image. It should be booting from the ISO image and we will be able to see the Windows setup menu. Okay, so it's starting now. So we have now the menu to choose the version of Windows Server that we want to install. We will install the Windows Server standard evaluation with this desktop experience. We can also do that with the data center evaluation. It doesn't matter. But for domain controller, and let's choose just the standard evaluation. Okay, have to accept the license and custom. Okay, so now we see the virtual disk that we have assigned to the server. So let's click on new and create a partition on the whole disk. Just click on yes so it can create partitions for the systems automatically. So you will see other partitions being created. So the recovery partition, system partition, and other partitions that are reserved for Windows Server system. Okay, let's click on next. We are going to install on this partition. Okay, 40 gigabit. And starting. Okay, let's wait a moment until it finishes. That's going to take a few minutes. Okay, it seems to be finished, so let's wait for we restart the virtual machine and we'll boot into Windows and we will set up the server and then configure the network and finally configure the domain controller. Okay, so let's give it let's give the administrator user a password. So I'm just going to double check that my keyboard is okay. It's a strange one. Let's give it simple password, but you should give a strong password for the administrator. But this is a lab, so let's make it short and simple. Okay, I've given it AZT1 and it's good. Okay, so you can click on this button to send Control Alt Delete to the virtual machine and then input the password again. Let's check if it's fine. Okay, it's fine. And it's starting now. Windows Server into the desktop of the administrator user. Okay. Do you want to allow the PC to be discoverable? Yes. Well, that's a server, so it has to be discoverable, okay? If you don't need it to be discoverable, then you can say no. But that's also a purpose of a server to be discoverable on the network. Um, Try managing servers with Windows Admin Center. Yeah, that's a new feature of Windows Server 2019. Don't show me this message again. The screen is a little bit small, so the screen is a little bit small right now. So I can see that there is no VMware tool on it. Let's install VMware tool on the VM. Yes. So VMware tools. When you click on install VMware tools, it will appear here as a CD-ROM. Okay, so you will have to double click on it and then it will launch the setup. What is VMware tools for? It's going to install all kind of drivers that are needed for a VM to be optimized. Okay, and then just like network drivers and video drivers, you'll see in a moment. But the display will change and will be adapted to the screen, the size of the uh, VMware workstation screen. Now you see, it's installing the mouse driver, memory control driver, video driver. Ah, you can see it blinked right after the video driver installed. Okay, you must restart the system for the configuration. Just say yes. Let's restart the computer. Okay, Control Alt Delete and then input the password again. Right. Well, you can see that this is a evaluation license, okay? But that's good enough. We have 180 days. That's good enough to build our lab. And that's just a lab, so you wouldn't need to keep it for a long time. Okay. Uh, so now VMware tools have been installed. We can click on View and stretch guest. Fit guest now. Oh yeah, cool. That's fitting to the Windows, right? When you put it and make it smaller, it will fit again, and then fit again. Haha, that's funny. It's working. Okay, now let's set up a server. So we are going to Server Manager under Local Server and change the name of the computer. So we will give it the name of a server, so LabDC. Let's keep it as work group. We didn't create the domain controller yet, so we cannot join a domain. You must restart your computer to apply this change. So just click OK and close. You must restart your computer, and right now click on restart later. Okay. Why do I do that is because I didn't finish the configuration yet, and when I will finish all the configurations, I will restart the computer and apply all the changes. Uh, Windows Defender Firewall. We are in a lab, so we can open firewalls. Let's click on Advanced Settings. Where is it? Oh, it's here. Okay, and then Windows Defender Firewall. We can choose to either leave it on and then allow all connections for inbound, outbound. Okay. We can as well disable the firewall. For this lab, I will just disable the firewall. Okay, so we won't be bothered by firewall issues. That's not the best practice. Okay. And then remote management is enabled. Remote desktop is disabled. So let's enable it. We will need the remote desktop. Okay. NIC teaming we don't need it. I only have one NIC on the server. And Ethernet 0, which is the Ethernet network adapter. Let's give it a static IP address. That's a DC server, so I'm going to give it one. My subnet is a /16. My default gateway is here, and preferred DNS server. Let's give it a Google DNS server. Okay. So we can see that we can try to access to the internet. Oh yeah, Internet Explorer enhanced security configuration is enabled. Now this will be a little bit annoying for us during the lab, so we will disable it. So let's continue next here. Right here we have oh, install updates automatically using Windows Update. I don't want this during the lab. It seems that I cannot change it. Okay, well, well, just leave it then. I'll check about this later. Windows Defender Antivirus. I'll just leave it. This is a good thing, okay, but we have this by default. And oh, that's here. Internet Explorer Enhanced Security Configuration. So let's put it off for all the administrators. And the time zone, I'm going to change it because I'm from Paris. Okay, and okay. Okay, you can see that everything is updated now. Only the computer name is not, because we didn't have restart the computer yet. So let's restart the server. You can either right click on this and choose restart, or you can just click on start and then click on this button and then click on restart. For me, I prefer to use the right click. That's kind of a shortcut. Yeah, this is a plant maintenance. Okay, we start. Okay, good. So the server now is online. We have set up the network. Let's log in again. Okay, and let's go back to local server, and you can see that the computer name has changed. Okay, so now we are going to build up a domain controller. So we are going to click on manage on the top, click on add roles and features. Okay, and this is the wizard. Just click next. We are going to choose a role-based installation. Okay, so click next, and then select a server from the pool. This is the server we want to install on, Homelab DC. And then let's install Active Directory domain services. It asks you if you want to install all the features that goes with administration tools. So yes, and include the management tools. Add features. So that's all we need to do, and click next. You can see here that it has already selected the features for administrating the domain controller. Okay, so right here, role administration tools, and you have ADDS and ADLDS tools already checked. So let's click on next. Do we want to connect to Azure Active Directory? Okay, that's just informational. But if you need to configure Office 365 with Azure Active Directory Connect, that's how you can do. Okay, so let's confirm install. That's going to take some time, so let's wait a moment. Okay, so it's done. Let's click on promote this server as a domain controller. Okay, let's do that. And then what we are going to do, this is a new forest. So let's click on add new forest and choose a root domain name. Okay, let's call it on air.local. Okay, we can choose forest and domain functional servers. Let's give it password. Oh, okay. It's going to install the DNS automatically. Yes, I need the DNS server. Okay, that's fine. Just click on next, and then for NetBIOS domain name, just leave it as default. It will be on air. Okay, perfect. These are the path of installation of the ADDS database, log files, and sysvol. Let's click on next. Okay, that's the review. Let's click on next. It will do the pre-check before installation. Okay, there's nothing, there's no error, these are just warnings. So let's click on install. Let's wait a moment for the installation to be finished. It seems like it will be restarting now. Okay, during the boot, I think it must be setting up all kind of things as well as the domain controller group policies and booting up the domain controller service. It's going to take some time. After it finishes, uh, we have to connect via we have to connect via the domain username and password. And then we are going to set up a DNS. Okay, that's done. Okay, we are going to be at the end of this video, so let's log in with the domain user password. Okay, you see here the domain, the NetBIOS name, username, and we are going to input our password. You cannot connect with a local user anymore. since this is a domain controller, you can only connect with a domain user. Okay, so the server now is already up and running. Okay, you can see that the work group has been changed to domain. That's perfect, that's what we wanted. And let's now configure the network again. Let's check if it has changed over here. Yes. So it put itself as the preferred DNS server. Oh, that's perfect. We won't change it. We will change. We can change it. Actually, we can put the 192.168.0.1, but that works as well with a local host. Okay, so now let's click on Tool and DNS. So we are going to check the DNS configuration. So we have now a forward lookup zone. Okay, so that's good, but we don't have a reverse lookup zone. So let's create this. Okay, so zone type primary. Next, let's keep it default and we'll next, and then choose IPv4 reverse lookup zone. And right here, our network ID is 192.168.0. Allow only secure dynamic updates. We will allow both non-secure and secure dynamic updates. So other than Windows clients can update the DNS. Okay, so the reverse lookup zone has been created here. So what's the difference is forward lookup zone. It's translating the name to the IP, and for the reverse lookup zone, it's going to translate the IP to the names. So right here we can see that uh, there is no data for the domain controller. So we're going to open it and then check the update associated pointer record, and it will create a pointer into reverse lookup zone. Let's refresh it and you can see that now it's okay to translate the IP 192.168.0.1 to the domain controller name. And when you do a ping a, that should be giving you the name. Okay, that's perfect. That's working. So now we are going to right click on the domain, click on properties. Okay, so everything should be fine here. Let's right click on the server and then properties. And right here we can see that the DNS server is listening from these two IP addresses. Okay, this one which is the IPv6 address, but we are going to use more this one. And it's going to forward all DNS requests that it cannot handle to the DNS Google. So that means that if you want to get out into the internet, then it's going to work because you have a forwarder. It's going to forward the DNS request to the Google DNS. So we're going to check, and that's working. That's perfect. That's good. Okay, so we are done with the setup of the domain controller, and I'm going to create another live to set up the VMware environment. So keep in touch. Have a nice day.